Good morning.
Good morning.
Can you hear me in the jail? Can you hear us in the jail?
Yes, ma'am.
On the record, in the matter of the people of the state of Michigan versus Chantis Monique Gonzalez. Council appearance.
Good morning, Your Honor. Assistant Public Defender Lauren Sutter on behalf of Ms. Gonzalez for today's arraignment.
Pull your foot down.
Okay, you're Chantis Gonzalez.
No.
Okay, today's the date set for an arraignment. I have a misdemeanor complaint here. The complaint alleges that on or about September 1st, 2024, at the area of 830 East Green Lawn, City of Lansing, Ingham County, State of Michigan, that you allegedly committed the act of domestic violence. The allegations are that you did make an assault or assault and battery upon a Tevin Crawford, an individual with whom you had a dating relationship contrary to Michigan Compile Law 750.812. That's a misdemeanor with a maximum penalty of 93 days in jail and or $500 in fines, and a consecutive sentence may be imposed if the assault was committed in a place of confinement. You understand the charge and the maximum penalty, ma'am?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, you do have the right to be represented by an attorney. Ms. Sutter from the Public Defender's Office is representing you today solely for the purpose of your arraignment, but you have the right to have an attorney represent you at each stage of the criminal prosecution. You have the right to be represented by an attorney if you're questioned by law enforcement. If you cannot afford to hire an attorney, you can make a request to have the Public Defender's Office represent you at the expense of the public. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
You have the right in this matter to proceed to trial, and you have the right to jury trial. At the time of your trial, you have the right to the presumption of innocence. It means you're innocent until proven guilty. You have the right to require the prosecution prove your guilt by proving each element of the charges being brought against you beyond a reasonable doubt. You have the right to remain silent at your trial and not have silence be used against you, or you can waive your silence and testify if you'd like. You have the right to subpoena witnesses that will testify for you at your trial and present evidence that you believe show a defense to the charges being brought against you. And you also have the right to see, hear, or question in court any of the witnesses that the prosecution calls to testify against you. Do you have any questions about those rights, ma'am?
No, ma'am.
You are currently scheduled for a pre-trial conference. It's going to be before Judge Tony Flores. It's going to be September 23rd at 9 o'clock in the morning. Did you get a copy of the notice to appear?
Yes, I did.
Is she requesting court-appointed counsel?
She is.
Before we enter a plea of not guilty on your behalf, are you currently employed?
Yes, ma'am.
Where?
It's called Caroline. I'm a hospice CNA.
What's your home address? Is it the address on Glen?
Yes, ma'am.
What's your phone number?
517-574-6203.
Are you currently on probation or on parole?
No, ma'am, I've never been in trouble.
Well, I do see that you've been charged in 2019.
2019 for what?
It says assault and battery.
Oh,
No, you don't recall that?
ma'am.
No. You can address bond, counsel.
Thank you, Your Honor. I did meet with Ms. Gonzalez this morning. She did advise me that she is living in the Lansing area and does have an address away from the complaining witness here. She also did advise me that she had no prior assault or violent convictions and no prior failures to appear in court. She is employed, as she said, working as a hospice CMA for Caroline in Lansing, and that is full-time employment for her. She and I did discuss a no contact order this morning, and I made clear how serious that order is. I believe with a bond condition like the no contact order that she does not pose a danger to herself or the community, nor do I believe she poses a flight risk. And I would ask the court to consider a personal recognizance bond on her behalf today. Thank you.
Bond will be set in the amount of 500 personal recognizance. I will order a no contact order in place for the protection of a Tevin Crawford. So you're not to be within 1,500 feet of wherever he is. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
You're not to have contact directly or indirectly. So that means you can't call him, you can't text him, you can't have anybody else do that for you either. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. While out on bond, you're not to use, purchase, or possess drugs or alcohol without a valid prescription. You're not to possess a firearm or any other dangerous weapon. You are not allowed to travel outside the state without getting prior approval from the court. You need to report to all of your future court dates on time. Do you have any questions about your bond conditions?
No, ma'am.
I don't know if I said it, but you're also not to possess a firearm or any other dangerous weapon while on bond. Any additional matters for the record, counsel?
Nothing further. Thank you.
You're all set, ma'am.
Alright, you come with me.
Mhm.
Yeah, no, on me.
The record in the matter of the people of the state of Michigan versus Rogelio Joseph Garza. Counsel appearance.
Good morning, Your Honor. Assistant Public Defender Lauren Sutter on behalf of Rogelio Garza for today's arraignment.
Okay, Mr. Garza, I have a misdemeanor complaint here. The complaint alleges that on or about September 1st, 2024, at the area of 627 East Kalamazoo Street, that's in the city of Lansing, Ingham County, state of Michigan, that you allegedly committed the act in count 1 of domestic violence. The allegations are that you made an assault or assault and battery upon a Nicole Garza, a resident or former resident of your household, or a spouse, and that this was contrary to Michigan Compiled Law 750.812. That's a misdemeanor with a maximum penalty of 93 days in jail and or $500 in fines, and a consecutive sentence may be imposed under the law if the assault was committed in a place of confinement. Do you understand that charge and the maximum penalty?
Yes.
Okay, you have the right to an attorney, and Ms. Sutter is going to represent you today for the purposes of your arraignment. But you do have the right to have an attorney represent you at each of your criminal appearances in court. You also have the right to have an attorney represent you if you're questioned by law enforcement. And if you can't afford to hire an attorney, you can make a request for the public defender's office to represent you at the expense of the public. You understand that?
Yep.
Okay, you have the right to remain silent. Anything that you say, anything you put in writing can be used against you. You have the right to plead guilty, plead not guilty, or stand mute. If you stand mute, the matter will go all the way to your trial date. You have the right to a jury trial, and you have the right to the presumption of innocence. So you're innocent until proven guilty. You have the right to require the prosecution prove your guilt at trial by proving each element of the charges being brought against you beyond a reasonable doubt. You have the right at your trial to remain silent and not have the silence be used against you. You can waive your silence and testify if you'd like, or you can subpoena witnesses that you believe can testify or present evidence to show a defense to the charges being brought against you.
Okay.
You also have the right to see, hear, or question in court any of the witnesses called to testify against you. Do you have any questions about those rights at this time?
No, I do not.
Okay. We're currently scheduled for a pretrial conference before Judge Tony Flores, September 23rd, 9 o'clock in the morning. Did you get your notice to appear before Judge Flores?
Yeah.
You can appear in person or via Zoom for that, okay?
Okay.
Are you currently on probation or parole?
Bro.
You're on parole?
Yeah.
Is he requesting court appointed counsel?
He is.
I'll enter a plea of not guilty on your behalf. Are you employed?
No.
I can't hear you.
Oh, no, ma'am.
What's your home address?
627 East Kalamazoo Street.
Okay, well, you won't be able to stay there during the pendency of this matter because that's the address of Miss Garza, correct?
Yeah, my wife, yeah.
Okay, well, where are you gonna stay if you get bond?
728 West Shiawassee, my mom.
What's your phone number?
My mom's,
No, yours.
517 855 0317.
So you can address bond.
Thank you, Your Honor. I met with Mr. Garza this morning regarding this matter. He and I did discuss some things. He is on parole, as he stated to the court, that appears to be for a nonviolent possession charge. He has communicated with his PO previously about any issues, and he is going to be staying in communication with his parole officer. He did also indicate to me that he is a longtime resident of the Lansing area. He's been here for the past 12 years. I understand the nature of the allegation here. However, he and I did discuss in depth any no contact order that would be placed here, and he was able to provide an address away from the complaining witness here with family in the area. Believe with the appropriate bond conditions like the no contact order that he does not pose a further danger to himself or the community, nor do I believe he poses a flight risk, as he did advise me he could not, outside of perhaps a juvenile hearing when he was quite young, recall any prior failures to appear in court. Given all that, Your Honor, I would ask the court to consider a personal recognizance bond for him here today. Thank you.
So you're on parole
Yes.
for possession of firearms, but from two different dates, correct?
Yeah.
So it's more than just one possession. I do also see upon review of his criminal history, multiple other convictions for the same firearm issue, but then also at least one other assaultive conviction.
Yeah.
See a felony assault with a weapon. Criminal history concerns me. The fact that he's under a supervision, that being parole, and the nature of the allegations, all to me presented a risk to the public safety. So a personal recognizance bond will not be granted.
Because I'm on parole.
Well, I
I'm at
just said
risk.
multiple things. I said more than just that. If you were paying attention, you would have heard those things. Bond is set at $7,500 cash surety. While out on bond, you're not to have contact directly or indirectly with Nicole Garza. Do you understand that?
Yep.
You're not to be within 1,500 feet of wherever she is. Do you understand that?
Yep.
You need to report to all of your court dates. You're going to have to report to pretrial services within 48 hours of your release. You're also not to use, purchase, or possess a firearm, weapon, or ammunition of any kind. You're not to use, purchase, or possess alcohol or drugs unless you have a valid prescription. You're not to travel outside the state without prior approval of the court.
Your Honor, if I may, one question.
You may.
You indicated he's to report to pretrial services. Is this a misdemeanor?
Yeah.
Oh, it is
It
a
is.
misdemeanor. He does not need to report to pretrial services.
Thank you for the clarification. I appreciate it.
Thank you. So again, no drugs or alcohol. You're not to travel outside the state. No contact. And I said no firearms or weapons of any kind, which you shouldn't have anyways because you're a felon. Do you have
So
any
if I were to
questions
get out,
about-
if I were to get out and this is my house where I live at, this is my wife, so how would I be able to get my clothes from over there? How would I, like, what are the steps I would have to take to get my shit from over there?
You
Because
can
I
go
live-
over there. Excuse me?
Because I live there, that's my house.
I recognize that, but this is the house of the alleged victim as well, so you can't stay there while she's staying there. I will allow you to go with law enforcement to retrieve your items once.
All right.
You have any other questions?
Oh,
You're all set. On the record, in the matter of the people of the state of Michigan versus William Fordham Sheldon. Council appearance.
Good morning, Your Honor. Assistant Public Defender Lauren Sutter appearing today on behalf of Mr. Sheldon for today's arraignment.
Okay, Mr. Sheldon, I have a felony complaint here. It alleges that on or about March 8th, 2024, at the area of Jolly Road in Pleasant Grove, City of Lansing, Ingham County, State of Michigan, that you did allegedly commit the act in count 1 of controlled substance possession of methamphetamine. The allegations are that you did knowingly or intentionally possess methamphetamine contrary to Michigan compiled law 333.74032BI. That is a felony. The maximum penalty is 10 years in prison and or $15,000 in fines. There's a count 2 of motor vehicle operation without security. Allegations are that you did, being the operator of a Chevrolet Camaro, a motor vehicle with respect to which security is required by Michigan compiled law 500.3101, 3102, and 3103, did operate said vehicle upon Jolly Road and Pleasant Grove Road, a public highway in the state of Michigan, with knowledge that the owner or registrant did not have full force and effect security complying with the above cited statutes, and that this was done contrary to Michigan compiled law 500.3102. Count 2 is a misdemeanor. The maximum penalty is not more than 1 year and or less than $200 or no more than $500. There's an habitual offender second offense notice. Says take notice that the defendant was previously convicted of a felony or an attempt to commit a felony, and that on or about November 15, 2013, he was convicted of the offense of controlled substance possession of methamphetamine in violation of Michigan compiled law 333.74032BI or 2B1 in the 56th Circuit Court, Eaton County, State of Michigan. Therefore, defendant is subject to the penalties provided by Michigan compiled law 769.10 that enhances the penalty to 1 1/2 times the maximum sentence on the primary offense or lesser term. The maximum penalty cannot be less than the maximum term for the first conviction. Do you understand the charge and the maximum penalty, sir?
yes, ma'am.
Can you repeat that for me because it broke up?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, you have the right to counsel. Ms. Sutter is going to represent you today for your arraignment, and you have the right to have an attorney represent you at all of your court appearances, and you have the right to have an attorney represent you if you're questioned by the police. If you can't afford to hire an attorney, you can make a request to have the public defender's office appointed to represent you at the expense of the public. Do you understand that, right?
Yes, ma'am.
You have the right to remain silent. Anything that you say, anything you put in writing can be used against you. You have the right to plead guilty. You can plead not guilty, or you can stand mute. If you stand mute, the matter will continue to trial. You have the right to a preliminary examination in this matter because you're being charged with a felony in count 1. You have the right to have the preliminary examination within 21 days of the date that you're arraigned, unless You waive that 21-day timeline, or the court finds good cause to go beyond that 21 days. You're currently scheduled for a probable cause conference before Judge Cynthia Ward, September 13, 2024 at 9 o'clock in the morning. You have a preliminary examination before Judge Ward in person at the court, September 20th, 9 o'clock in the morning. You should have received a copy of your notice to appear for those dates. Did you get that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. At the time of your exam, you have the right to require that the prosecution put forth evidence to establish sufficient probable cause that a crime was committed, and then probable cause sufficient to charge you with the crime. Do you have any questions so far?
No, ma'am.
Again, you have the right to a jury trial in this matter. You have the right to the presumption of innocence at your trial. So you're presumed innocent until proven guilty. You have the right to require that the prosecution prove each element of the charges being brought against you at your trial beyond a reasonable doubt. You have the right to remain silent and not have silence be used to prove or imply that you're guilty. You have the right to see, hear, or question any other witnesses that they call to testify against you at your trial. You can waive your silence and testify for yourself if you like. You also have the right to subpoena witnesses to testify on your behalf. Do you have any questions about those rights?
No, ma'am.
Are you currently on probation or parole?
No, ma'am.
Are you employed?
Yes, ma'am.
Where?
I do construction, ma'am. I'm probably around for some way.
You do construction where?
All over. We do it here in Michigan.
What
What's that?
company? What company do you work for?
Simmons and more. Ceilings and more.
Thank you. What is your home address?
6454 News Road, Charlotte.
What's your phone number?
231-7322. 517.
Is he requesting court appointed counsel?
He is.
Okay, my concern is I believe that there's an error on this complaint. Because it reads that on or about March 8th, the affidavit that I received said that this occurred September 1st. Have you ever missed court in the past?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
Thank you. Mm. You can address bond counsel.
Thank you, Your Honor. I met with Mr. Sheldon this morning, had a discussion with him. He advised me that he does live in the Charlotte area and has his entire life. He resides, or I'm sorry, has resided nearby his entire life and has been at that address in Charlotte for 10 years, where he does live with his father. He also did advise me, as well as the court, that he is employed. He has a full-time job doing construction that is between Eaton County and Ingham County. He also advised me that he does have some criminal history, though it is not violent or assaultive in nature, and there are no allegations of violent or assaultive behavior here. He also advised me that he has no prior failures to appear in court. I do believe, with appropriate bond conditions, that he is not a danger to himself or the community, nor does he pose a flight risk, and I would ask the court to consider a personal recognizance bond on his behalf today. Thank you.
Thank you. Maybe he forgot that he has a bench warrant currently in Eaton County.
We did ask him about that, Your Honor. I did ask him about that. He's not sure if there's one. He believes there may be one. He does not believe it's assaultive in nature either, possibly a possession.
Yeah, he has a bench warrant in Eaton County. It says since March 2024, March 27th, for felony controlled substance possession of methamphetamine. Does that refresh your recollection, sir?
Yes, ma'am. Well, so I'm a sheriff.
Excuse me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Why didn't you go take care of that case?
I'm getting ready to.
No, why didn't you do it before today?
I tried, ma'am.
I don't understand what you said.
I tried. I had no. I was waiting on a court date.
You tried to go to 56A District Court to take care of your warrant?
Oh, no, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
When did you do that?
Last week.
And you went to 56A and they didn't take care of it for you?
No, ma'am. I'm waiting on a lawyer.
Oh, okay. I don't believe that he went to 56A to take care of his warrant and they released him without addressing it because he didn't have a lawyer. So he does have a history of failure to appear. However, he does not have any assaultive crimes in his criminal history. All of his criminal history is consistent with the allegations that are currently before the court. I will issue a low cash surety bond in the amount of 2,010%. While out on bond, you need to report to all of your court dates. Do you understand that, sir?
Yes, ma'am. So 10%, that'd be what, $200?
That's correct. You need to report to pretrial services. You're not to possess a firearm, weapon, or ammunition while out on bond, that is. You're not to travel outside the state without approval of the court. You're not to use, purchase, or possess alcohol or drugs without a valid prescription. I'm going to order that you participate in a substance abuse testing and monitoring program while out on bond. And you're not to engage in any assaultive or threatening behavior while out on bond. Do you have any questions?
No, ma'am. Can I get that reduced to 100? I have that on me.
I can't, if you speak up with your head held up, I could probably understand what you're saying.
I have a, can I get that reduced to like 100? Because I have 100 on me.
Oh, you thought this was a negotiation?
Oh, no, ma'am. Sorry.
Yeah, well, the bond was set at 2,010%. You're all set, unless you have a question for me.
No, ma'am.
Okay. Any additional matters, counsel?
Nothing further. Thank you.
You're all set, sir.
Thank you.
You're welcome. That's all I got.
Thank you, Your Honor. Have a nice rest of your day.
Same to you.